All right.
They don't see me, huh?
Yeah, they see you. They don't hear you.
Включвам се. Marco, Jagan plus Peter waiting in the lobby.
All right, we're going to give everybody a few more minutes to come in. If you haven't already, go ahead and mute your microphone so we don't have any feedback.
Hello there, good morning. Istvan Gan is also here.
Good morning. Welcome. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
С камера само мога да изключа. Не знам дали мога. Изключих я, да.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ahmed from Baby, Turkey.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're going to get...
I'm sorry, but I'm driving. I'm sorry. Good morning.
No worries. I might mute your microphone. Sorry. We're going to give everyone one more minute to join, and then we're going to jump right in.
Hello, Dan Dumitrache from GLL Romania.
Welcome. We're very excited to have you. We're going to give one more minute. Still people coming in, so we'll give them 1 minute.
Yeah, the blue shirt, Michael Kroll from Germany, former head of truck stops Tang and Rust Group.
Welcome. We've missed you, Michael.
Member of Esport, a board member of Esport in the past.
Welcome.
Hello, Michael, and hello, everybody. Corinne from...
Welcome, welcome. Okay, then if it's okay with everybody, we're gonna go ahead and start. So let's jump right in. I wanna welcome all of you. Thank you so much for participating in our Esport workshop. We have some great speakers today, and there will also be some time for questions later. For those of you who just joined, if you can mute your microphone just so there's no echo or feedback, that would be great. Unless, of course, later you have questions. We are going to keep our questions for the end because there is a section and time for your questions. And for questions, you can either put them in the chat or raise your hand, and then I will coordinate and we will get to everybody's questions. But there's time at the end, so if you do have questions, just leave them till after the speakers are finished presenting. Okay, great. All right, let's jump right in. We're gonna start with Esport's General Manager, Dirk Penaas. So Dirk, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. First of all, I want to say that this session is recorded, that everybody knows clearly that it's recorded, because there are people they can be attending, so that we can send them the information also. This is our second workshop about CEF funding. The Before it was in 2019. It was a physical one, and we hope to do it next year, also a physical one. Again, it will be more nice. We have more than 60 people are interested to following the workshop, so I think we are on the good line to raise and take the momentum from safe and secure truck parking areas. Can you go to the next slide, Christy? What we're going to do, the agenda, the introduction at the moment. Then we have Ines Maillard from DG MOVE. She's going to talk about European policy in context of safe and secure parkings. Then we have Thomas Lazari van Senea, who's going to talk about the call. Then we have the questions and answers. And then we're going to try to make a conclusion out of the meeting today. The network of SPORIC is growing, and also the interest from our members are growing. When you're seeing out the map, every year it's more full. So it's make us happy that that's happening. The last call, we have involved in 8 applications, and they were all successful. So there, we supporting our members when they apply for CEF call. SPORIC advise them before the application. We guidance them through the application process, and we're supporting them with the execution and the dissemination of the project. So we are there for our members, and that's everything what I want to say to make the entry. And I'm going to give the floor to Ines.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Derek. Then Ines, if you want to take it away to talk about policy in the context of safe and secure parking, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much to you both, and welcome everyone. I'm really happy to be attending this event today. So for those who don't know me, I'm Ines Maillard. I'm a policy officer in DG MOVE, European Commission, and I work in the road transport unit. I work more in particular on the safe and secure parking initiative. And I'm also following the CEF call, even though Sinea are the specialists in the field. So today I will not show you slides. I will not do an in-depth presentation, but I will. What I really wanted to share with you is the fact that today safe and secure parking areas are more than ever a priority for the European Commission. I think, sadly, because of recent events, we saw that our truck road transport drivers need more than ever safe and secure places to take their rest on our roads. We also recently heard about the shortage of drivers that is growing, has always been an issue, but it's becoming more than ever an issue, and improving the working conditions of our road transport drivers through having more safe and secure parking areas could also make a difference. Finally, as you all know, cargo crime is still a reality, and that is why also the European Commission wants to develop more safe and secure parking areas in the EU. So what are we doing at the European level? You will ask me, what are we doing to support the creation of more safe and secure parking areas? So the answer is already here in the title of the call. We have launched the CEF call with 250 million that can be allocated to safe and secure parking areas. And on my side, also in the side of DG MOVE, we are working on developing standards at European level on service and security to have really a label, EU label for safe and secure parking areas. So we started working together with an expert group more than a year ago. And I think the work has been really progressing well. Our aim is to adopt this act, which will have the standards, and the standards will become legislation by mid-December. So it means that this should really give a momentum also to EU safe and secure parking areas, because we will have really standards in the legislation, and that if you follow, if you are certified according to this standard, then you become a EU parking, safe and secure parking area, and you will be part of a network. Being part of a network or being certified according to the standards also allow you obviously to apply for the CEF funding, which can really make a difference. So that's why I'm really here today to do this little speech. I really wanted to encourage everybody to talk about these initiatives that are really that we are pushing very hard at our level. And I think this session will really provide you with a unique opportunity to have really all the information you need to apply if you're interested for this CEF call. I will be there at the end of the session for the questions on the policy backgrounds. If you have questions about the standards, the work we are doing on this delegated act for the standards, and then my colleague from CINEA, I'm sure will be able to answer the questions that are a bit more technical to the CEF call. And I think like that, we are doing a great combo, and I'm really looking forward to really having the questions at the end of the session, and also listening to Thomas' presentation. So back to you, Christy, for the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you so much, Ines. Also to put things in context for us a little bit, that's super helpful, so thank you so much. And I'm sure that we will have some questions at the end that you will be able to answer. All right, then we have our next speaker, Thomas Lazzeri from CINEA, who will give us all the details about the CEF call. Thomas, if you want to go ahead and pull up your presentation, you may start whenever you're ready.
Yes, I will just bear with me 1 second that I managed to put it full screen, then I will share it online with you.
Take your time.
Yep.
So Thomas is going to be talking about the 2021 CEF call. I think he's going to give us a bit of an overview, and if you do have more questions at the end, feel free to ask, but we're going to go ahead and save it till the end of Thomas's presentation. All right, I see your presentation, Thomas, so whenever you're ready.
I'm just trying to put it full screen if I succeed here, so bear with me just 1 sec. Now it should be full screen if I'm not totally mistaken.
It looks great.
Very good then. So good morning, everybody. I'm Thomas Lazzeri from CINEA. CINEA, the former INEA, is the executive, one of the executive agencies of the European Commission. And among the various programs we are administering is the CEF program, the Connecting Europe facility. And among the priorities that can be funded through the Connecting Europe facility is also safe and secure parking infrastructure. And the purpose of my presentation this morning is to present to you the transport call we have opened now in September, which is the first call under the CEF2 facility. And I will now present to you some features of the call with a special focus, of course, on the aspects which are most interesting to you, namely safe and secure parking, funding for safe, secure parking. So first some general aspects on the call. It is the first of 3 calls which will be launched under the same work program which has been adopted in July this year. Overall, there will be 18.2 billion euros roughly in these 3 calls, distributed in a form of 5.5 billion per call each year in 2021, 2022, and 23, meaning next year and in 2 years' time, roughly at the same period of the year, we will be launching other calls under the same work program. This means that the calls launched in 22 and in 23 will have the same priorities as this call, meaning for you, what is relevant for you, that safe and secure parking will be part of the calls also in 22 and in 23. And I will come back a bit later on this and why it is important for you to keep in mind that there will be other 2 calls with this priority also in the next 2 years. Then here I have put a slide with an overview on all the priorities of the call. I try to highlight in red here, which is the aspect which is relevant to you. I hope it is visible, the red shine here. Otherwise, I'm trying to point on it with the cursor. What is important for you is the section actions related to safe and secure mobility, for which there have been allocated 100 million in the general envelope and 150 million under the cohesion envelope. And for this area, safe and secure mobility, we have 5 topics, both under the general envelope and under the cohesion envelope. And safe and secure parking infrastructure is one of those 5 topics, meaning the 100 million under the general envelope and the 150 under the cohesion envelope refers to the total available for safe and secure mobility, not specifically only to safe and secure parking. And for clarification, within those 5 topics, no earmarking of specific amounts for single topics has been made. And overview of the call timeline. For you at the moment, the most important dates on this slide are the first 2 dates you're seeing. The call has been opened on September 16th and will remain open till January 19th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Brussels time, meaning all applications need to be submitted in the system by 5 p.m. January 19th. Submissions made later than that will not be considered for funding. Then you see the various indicative steps for the evaluation and the selection. Most likely selection decision will be adopted in June next year, and in that moment applicants will be informed of the outcome of the selection process, whether they have been retained for funding or not. And then briefly on the priority, which is important for you, safe and secure parking infrastructure, which I said is part of safe and secure mobility. First thing to retain is that only works will be funded under this topic, meaning studies, permitting, their like is not eligible for funding, but only works. Maximum co-funding rates are up to 50% under the general envelope and up to 85% under the cohesion envelope. Bear in mind, these are maximum funding rates, and funding rate for a specific project may be lower than that. Then what do we aim at financing under this topic? Firstly, we aim to finance the development of new safe and secure parking areas, which aim at achieving at least bronze level for in the parking standards, which have been developed for the time being as a study and which will soon be turned into a delegated act. Meaning, if you're not going for at least bronze level for your parking area, you will not be retained for funding. Secondly, what we aim at funding is the upgrade of the security features and the safety features of existing parking areas for the purpose to bring them again to at least bronze level of the parking standards. Then third area of funding under this topic is the optimization of information systems on the availability of parking spaces. Here we are talking about the upgrade of development of digital information systems to exchange and provide information on the availability of parking areas. Then your action may cover one or more of these 3 topics mentioned here, then please bear in mind that your action needs either to be located on the core network, or if it is not located on the core network, or if it is located on the comprehensive network, your application needs to explain and to justify why this action is nonetheless relevant for the functioning of the core network. Then next slide, a bit of an overview on how the evaluation process functions. The first step will be, once January 19th has arrived and once the call has been closed, the first step will be to check the admissibility and the eligibility of submitted proposals. This will be carried out by CENEA. Then all the proposals that have passed this first step will come to the external evaluation carried out by external experts, which will assess their proposal and score it. And then for those proposals who have passed the external evaluation step, the internal evaluation will take place with DG Move in the lead and with the association of the other commission services, and the final list of proposals recommended for funding will be drawn up. And then eventually, as I said before, most likely in June next year, the selection decision will be adopted with the proposals retained for funding. Then a couple of words on admissibility and eligibility, especially because, unfortunately, in the past, for safe and secure parkings, we have seen a higher than average amount of proposals already failing on this early step. Please keep in mind, if your proposal is not admissible or not eligible, it will not be even evaluated by experts and has no chance to be retained for funding. First thing to be kept in mind is, as I said before, proposals need to be submitted before the deadline, meaning all proposals submitted after Friday 19th at 5 p.m. will not be retained for funding. Proposals need to be submitted through the funding and tender portal, which you find on the system, and you find the link to it on the call webpage. Other ways of submitting your proposal are not admissible. Don't submit paper versions. Do not send applications to us in paper. They will not be retained for funding. Then your proposal needs to be complete. It needs to compare all forms and all requested annexes. There will be no follow-up from our side. If one annex is missing, the proposal is incomplete and will not be admissible, will not come back to you, pointing out to you, form X or Y is missing, please send it to us. No, this is not going to happen. What is there in the system is there, and what is not there is unfortunately missing and will have consequences. And for the various forms and annexes, the templates made available by us on the call website need to be used. Don't draw up a template of your own. Use the templates that are made available on the call website. And third aspect, which is very important to be kept in mind, your proposal will need a letter of support from all member states where the action will take place. Meaning that if you're planning to build parking areas in 10 member states of the EU, you will need letters of support of all 10 member states where the action is taking place, not just of the member state where your company is headquartered, and these letters of support need to be provided together with the submission of the proposal. Otherwise, proposal will not be admissible. And then on the eligibility, just to point out again that participants need to be legal entities established in one of the eligible countries, basically meaning all member states of the EU. Then award criteria. Here we have some change compared to CEF 1. We have now under CEF2 5 award criteria, which the external experts will assess. What has remained unchanged is that the minimum pass score for each of the award criteria is 3 and the maximum score is 5. And you will need to have at least 3 in each of the 5 criteria in order to be retained for funding. And maximum score, as there are 5 criteria with 5 as maximum score per criteria, is of course 25. Then let's look briefly at the 5 award criteria we have now under CEF2. The first criteria is priority and urgency, which roughly resembles what was called relevance under CEF1 and evaluates the correspondence of the proposal with the sectorial policy objectives and priorities, measuring its EU added value and where applicable addressing synergies with other sectors. Then the second award criteria is maturity, which is basically unchanged from CEF1, assessing the maturity of the proposal, meaning the readiness, ability of the project to start in time and to be completed by the proposed end date, the status of contracting procedures and permits, and so on. As I said before, there will be other calls in 22 and 23 with the same priorities, which is why the maturity criterion will have a particularly high importance this time around, and proposals which are not ready to start in a reasonable amount of time or are not able to be completed or do not give sufficient guarantee to be completed in a reasonable amount of time will not be retained for funding, which is why I would really urge you to assess, is my proposal ready to start? Is it wise to submit this proposal under this call, or should I rather wait another year before submitting the proposal under the next call? Will by then the permits be in place? Will I by then have been able to advance with the tendering of the works? And then third criteria is quality, again roughly unchanged from CEF1, which evaluates the soundness of the implementation plan from a technical and financial point of view, the organizational structures put in place for the implementation of the action, the risk matrix, the control procedures, and the quality management in place, as well as the communication strategy of the applicant. Then fourth criteria, award criteria, is impact, again roughly unchanged from CEF1, which assesses where applicable the economic and social and environmental impact of the proposed action. This may be substantiated with a CBA, and I will say a bit more about CBA in a moment. And moreover, when applicable, the criterion will assess the innovation and digitalization aspect, as well as safety and interoperability of the proposal. And then fifth and new criterion is catalytic effect, which evaluates the financial gap. For instance, the need to overcome financial obstacles generated by insufficient commercial viability, high upfront costs, or the lack of market finance, the capacity to mobilize different investment sources to trigger important overall investments with limited EU support, and where appropriate, the extent to which externalities justify CEF financial support. Then a couple of general aspects to be kept in mind. Please read carefully the various relevant documents you will find on the call website. First and foremost, the work program, the call text, but also more general documents such as the TEN-T guidance, the CEF2 regulation, or FAQ section, and other supporting documents which will help guide for applicant, which will help you understand the information you need to provide and how you have to fill in the application. Then, as I said before, your application will need the support of each member state in which the action will take place. Therefore, the advice is contact member states early on to seek their agreement, because there is no point for you to investing time and resources in preparing an application if then concerned member states are not willing to support it. Therefore, and also when we come towards the end of the submission deadline, member states might be overflooded with questions and demands from different potential applicants, and they will not always have the time to react in a swift manner to your requests. So please seek them out early on. You will find the contact details of contact persons for each member state on the call webpage. Then, in point of information from a technical point of view, the new part B of the application form has a page limit of 120 pages, and everything beyond will be cut off automatically by the system, which of course does not mean that you have to write all 120 pages. You can of course write less. What is important, that is that all necessary information is there, ideally written in a clear, factual and concise manner. And then one aspect I would also highlight, we have now transitioned from CEF to CEF2, and we have transitioned also to a different IT environment where different terminology applies. And bear in mind, in the new IT environment, what we up to now have called action will be called project. What we have called up to now activity will be called work package in the new IT environment. The second aspect to be kept in mind, actions can start as of 1st of January 2021 and can run for maximum 5 years, maximum up to 31st of December 2026. And costs incurred within this period are eligible for funding. Here again, we come back to the maturity criterion I have mentioned before. Please assess when is your action ready to start, when will it end? Does this match with the dates of this call, or is it rather worthwhile waiting for next year's call? And as I mentioned before, CBA is again a requirement for this call, and there's lots of information about CBA available on our website. There's also a detailed presentation on CBA available on our website. But I will limit myself to point out that for this priority, you will either need a full CBA or a simplified CBA. What the difference is between these two, you will find in detail on our website, explained by a person who is more competent than I on this for CBA. I will just highlight here with this slide that full CBA is needed for proposals which have an amount of eligible cost exceeding 10 million euros, whereas simplified CBA suffices for all those proposals who have eligible costs below 10 million euros. And if past experience is guidance, probably most of your proposals will only need a simplified CBA. Then in this last slide, I have put a few useful links. The first one is to the overall call webpage, where you'll find all the reference documents, the call text, the work program, guide for applicants, so on and so forth. The second link refers to the general info day held on the 27th of September. Both the presentations given there, from which I have drawn a few slides from my presentation here this morning, as well as the recording of that info day, is available on the website linked here. I truly invite you to go and have a look at the general info day. There are obviously some aspects of the general info day which may not be of interest for you, but I invite you to look on one hand at the presentation on safe and secure parking areas given by Ines in the morning, and then especially also in the afternoon, the presentation given on the application itself, the step of the applications itself, how to apply in the new IT system, how to register with the new IT system, and how the information needs to be provided in the system. There are a series of presentations available. Please look at the recordings of these presentations and look at the slides as well for information there. And then if there are questions related to this call, be it to the specific presentation, specific priority, safe and secure parking, or be it to the general features of the call, please send them to the general FAQ address. Please do not send them to myself. Please do not send them to myself or to Ines, because for reasons of equal treatment and fairness towards applicants, we cannot reply to you directly. Your questions need to be sent to the general email address listed here, and then they will be answered to the best extent possible through an FAQ. And this is actually all from my side. I thank you for your attention, and then if there are questions, I've been obviously at the disposal now at during the Q&A session.
Yeah, this is Istvan Gal. Hello, Mr. Lazzari. Thank you very much for the presentation. Actually, I just have one question. If I can receive that presentation, if it's okay to share.
Just from my side, okay to share. I guess Esberg will take care of this. It is in line with the presentations already available on our call website for the general info day.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Michael Koll from Germany. Mr. Lazzari, thank you first for the informations. I have a short list of questions. First of all, you showed a range of 50 to 85% of foundation per each project. Is there still, I imagine in the past, there was still some ranges between the countries that, let's say, well-developed network countries like Germany, they receive less support or less funding than other countries like East European countries, which are more under development still.
Yeah, I can go back, but I said 50% is under the general envelope, which would apply, for example, to Germany. 85% is for those applying under the cohesion envelope, which applies to those countries which are least developed in terms of GDP and therefore eligible in general for funding under the cohesion envelope.
Okay, good, thank you. Next question. The funding will given in front of the project or after the finalization of the project, which means sometimes between 1 to 2 years or 3 years.
There will be advance payment at the moment of the signature of the grant agreement. Then there might be further advance payments as while the action progresses. But together with the technical report, there might be then interim payments as well, where we will have to prove your actual progress into financial programs, where we check the invoices, and then there will be a final payment where you will have to submit final payment claim at maximum 12 months after the end of the action.
Okay. How are the shares? Let's say 30% in the front and let's say 1/3 in the middle?
Maybe it's not possible to make such a sharp breakdown. Okay. It depends on now. Don't know how much the advance payment will be for this call, and then the intermediate payments depend all on your financial progress and how much money you have actually spent by that point. So it is not possible to say now 1/3 at the beginning, 1/3 in between, 1/3 at the end. This will.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Next question. Bank guarantee is needed for this?
Depends on whether you are a weak applicant or not. This will an assessment which will be done by REA of all applicants. Weak applicants, if they're classified as weak applicants, a bank guarantee will be required, otherwise not.
Okay, so this is very individual per
Yeah.
per client, as I said. Okay,
Yeah.
good. A question for the German network. Germany is, as I know, in Europe, the most developed network for truck stops, especially on the TNT network. We have a high density of truck stops. Let's suggest everybody of these truck stops. We have sometimes each 50 kilometers one of these truck stops with on this TNT network. Let's suggest every operator or owner will ask for the development for high secure parking foundation. How will we react, and are there priorities, or are there other criteria to select, or everybody will be, let's say, handled on the same level?
Equal treatment of applicants applies, of course, also within a country. Therefore, everybody has the same chances at the beginning. Then, as I said before, each application will be assessed against the 5 award criteria, which I have mentioned in my presentation. And then it depends on each individual application and how well it corresponds to these criteria mentioned there. And this will determine the chance of each application to be retained for funding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. And the last question, in the moment, the German Ministry of Economic Development makes a call for development of pure new parking areas in Germany without the aspect of secure and safe parking. And this call is running in the same time and, let's say, in the same areas like you asked now for the EU call. And we have to be aware about a conflict between both fundings. Is the EU call always beating, let's say, more preferred than the national funding? If there's other countries that maybe happen the same?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but
okay, we have maybe two fundings in the moment, two funding calls in the moment. In Germany,
yes.
the German government makes a funding call for the development of new parking areas, because in Germany we're missing a lot of parking areas, but without any perspective or view on secure and safe parking, which is your call more. But this works together. When you have when you develop here in Germany new sites, it makes sense to develop already a secure and safe parking on the same time. Yeah. So are these calls in the conflict of financing? Do we have to give respect to both on the same time and inform you about that there's another call running and maybe we receive money from this call as well?
There is a section in the application now, I don't know it by heart which one, where you have to indicate where your other sources of financing come from, whether it's own resources, other government funding thereon, and so there you would have to indicate that if you are receiving funding from the German government as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. These are all my questions in the moment.
Okay. Then Ahmed from Turkey has his hand raised. So Ahmed, if you want to unmute, you can ask your question, and then we have a couple questions in the chat.
Thank you very much for your kind and detailed presentation, first of all. On behalf of Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchange of Turkey, I have two questions. First one is, technically, Turkey is accessible to the instrument of pre-accession funds of the EU. Can our association from Turkey be part of the ESPORT network, and are we eligible for this funding? And second question is, if not, is there any limitation for our union to be in a partner's status for any project within the European Union? Thank you.
To the first question, I do not have the answer to this. We would possibly have to come back in the form of an FAQ. I do not have the overview now under what conditions and when exactly non-member states would be eligible for funding. And especially I would not be able to tell you whether this would apply to a safe and secure parking area. And The second question was, I'm sorry, I can't. Can you remind me of your second question, please?
Whether a partnership is possible with somebody in the EU.
But
also with Esport, I think he said, Oleg, and I think we are happy also to enjoy and go cross-border out of Europe with the standard, because Turkey is the gate to Europe coming from Asia. So we are happy to have you in the organization.
Of course, for Esport, I leave it to Dirk to speak. That is not for us to speak. As for joining as a partner in action, I'm not really sure what your role would be there, because that would be dependent on that.
Probably Ahmed, if you cannot answer, I can answer that, but okay, go ahead yourself first.
Yes, we are happy that also people are enjoying Esport out of Europe, and specifically when you're coming from Turkey, is the port from Asia to Europe, and that we say are on the same playing level field with the same standard. That will be great. So let's start the conversation to be Esport member.
Thank you very much.
And on the other side, of course, TOBB has a company, which is a big one, which operates parkings, in particular also at the border crossings. They have one in Bulgaria, which is very a large one, really, and also another border crossing. So it would be interesting, really, to join.
Parking lot in Bulgaria would, of course, technically be eligible for funding since Bulgaria is a member state. Then, of course, you would have to get in touch with the Bulgarian authorities to see whether or not they're willing to support your application.
Yes, thank you very much for completing what I didn't state as a summary. Our association has a very strong experience in modernization of the customs posts and establishing and managing the parking areas within Turkey. And our affiliate companies doing these operations mainly, and we are happy to have any cross-border operation and any project. That's why I would like to get further information. So I will advise my relevant colleagues to follow the export network as well as any opportunity for joint projects, etc. Thank you.
Let me just clarify from our side. Being part of the Esport network is not a precondition to be eligible for funding. This two separate issues, and being a member of Esport also does not make you automatically guarantee you any funding. Let's just clarify that these are two different levels. One is the CEF call and eligibility there. Other one is Esport network.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
But if you do need help with anything, we are here. So just let us know, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take a question from the chat, and then I see that other people have their hands raised, so we'll get back there. Question from Friedrich Maas. We received a lot of questions on the actual requested funding rate. So will the catalytic effect criterion ultimately determine the assessment of the evaluation panel on the funding rate requested?
It will be one of the elements. There are several elements that will play in it. There's a CBA, but there is also an element which may be totally independent from you as an specific action. That might be that we have considerable oversubscription and that we have to make cuts and here and there, because not everybody, the cake is simply too small for everybody, which might mean that somebody might get less than the maximum funding rate. It is now impossible for me to say this will determine your funding rate, this will not determine your funding rate. This will be decided at the moment of the internal panel.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and I see Antoinetta. You have your hand raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, you can ask your question.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one, this is about the eligibility cost. Are all costs for all facilities on such secure parking area for trucks eligible? For example, for a refueling station or for building for accommodation of drivers to take their regular weekly rest? And my second question is if you could give us some information about the previous code, the project that received grants from the previous call, about their level of security, for example, and their frequent mistakes or disadvantages that the applicant of this call could not repeat again. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I will not name and shame any applicants from past calls. If you wish information on past calls on our website, all proposals retained under CEF are described there for all priorities. But you please have to bear in mind that save for the last call under the 2019 multi-annual programs, the standards for safe and secure parking had not been developed in the way they have been developed now. So the criteria that applied for selecting a proposal were different from those that apply now. And you have always to read the selected proposals, say, matching it with the call text that applied at the moment it was selected for funding. So then regarding your first question, are all costs eligible for funding? Without being able to go into the specificities of all cost items, the general line is we fund safe and the construction of safe and secure parking areas, and we fund what is relevant to that. Then you mentioned refueling station. No, a fuel station per se is not eligible for funding, which does not mean that it cannot be part of your global project. We would be just funding another part of it. The cost for the fuel station will not be eligible. You can, of course, build a fuel station there. You can build a shop there. You can build a parking area for 300 normal passenger cars there on the side of the safe and secure parking area. It's all perfectly fine and perfectly legit. However, that part of your project will not be funded by us.
And thank you, Friedrich. I don't know if you guys saw in the chat, but Friedrich has put a link to previous projects. So feel free to take a look at that if you need some examples.
Yeah.
There was one question.
So these are the old projects, not the previous ones.
There was one part of the project, the question that was not answered, and it was, what about hotels? I know what the answer is, but you have to be specific on that specific, because that will come very frequently into the discussion.
Well, it applies what is part of the standards and what is not part of the standards you're going for. Is the hotel part of the standard? It is eligible. Is it not part? It is not eligible.
Yes, maybe to support Thomas, indeed, I think you always need to refer yourself to the standards and what is in there, what is not. The accommodation for driver is not in there because we have a minimum level of service. So obviously we cannot impose on all safe and secure parking areas to have a hotel for drivers, and that's the reason why. So I guess that as this wouldn't be, if this is not in the standards today, this wouldn't be funded by CEF. That's my understanding.
Therefore, a question from Germany, because we make our in Germany, German network from Tang Russ Group, which has 95% of more or less all restaurants and service stations on German motorways. We have always, beginning on the weekends, a big pressure from border of France, border of Belgium, and border of the Netherlands, due to the fact that the police in these countries control truck drivers, especially from East Europe, not to overnight in their trucks. and they come over the borderline because in Germany the police don't control at the moment. There are still already existing penalties, but nobody controls. So I think, from my opinion, it's not consistent to make this kind of CEF funding to develop this kind of site and to proceed to develop this kind of sites without hotels or possibilities for especially these truck drivers from East Europe that can't go back to Bulgaria, Romania, Poland, or elsewhere for 2 days, to integrate not in this CEF funding hotels or overnight locations as opportunity to stay on the weekend in a human way, not to stay in their truck cabin. So this, from my point of view, from my operational experience, this is not consistent, not to include this kind of funding.
Okay, maybe I can answer that, because the fact that it's not funded doesn't mean you can't build it. You're perfectly allowed. And maybe to put a pinch of salt to what you said, it's only the regular weekly rest that drivers cannot take in the cabin. So it means that daily rest they can, and even shorter weekly rest of 24 hours they can. We know it's an issue that we don't have enough facilities in terms of safe and secure parking areas to leave your truck and go to a hotel for this long rest. But we have also encouraged, put in place new measures with our mobility package one, to encourage drivers to go home, actually, where it would be even better than spending, the weekly rest on the parking area, even if it has all facilities. So you need to really see it in a more global approach to it. Yes, we need more facilities. Having more safe and secure parking areas will actually already allow you to leave your truck in secure. And then on the other hand, what is also a good solution is allowing drivers simply to go home. And we have some mechanisms in place to allow this, in having flexibility in organizing the rest, so that the drivers spend shorter periods on the road and long period at their place of residence. But that's another issue. But as I said today, this is not funded for all the reasons I explained, and that's what needs to be retained from this conversation.
Okay, my point of view, a little bit far from reality in a moment, and I saw there's a guy from the BGL, the German Logistic Association, is there online, and I think he knows the problems from the truck drivers, especially from Eastern Europe, that are not that's not functionally happens, that they can go for 2 days to Bulgaria or Romania. This is too expensive and just the driving or flying takes all the time for the weekend, so they stay there and they stay in the sites and in their trucks. And as I understood, the focus on the European Union is to improve the safety for trucks and for goods, but on the same time, the social situation of the truck drivers. And therefore, I understand now this is not part of this foundation or of this funding.
It is not part of the standards, and what is part of the funding are the standards. So you have to see it in that logic.
Yeah, I understand the logic, but I can't understand the let's say in the future the interest of the European Union, because the socialization of the drivers should be, and I think this is one of the reasons to do this funding is important. And in this moment, nothing happens well in this area. Yeah? So, and we have still this pressure on the motorways, especially in Germany, because we are in the middle of Europe and we are passing 100,000 of trucks each day. Therefore, we have more than 200 truck stops already in Germany. No other country has so many truck stops in Europe, as I know, and we know this problem. This is a very essential problem. Essential. I can underline this.
Yeah, I got it. I think this is probably not the best context to discuss this, because this refers not to the funding per se, but to the standards which are the basis of the funding. When you discuss with the Commission services the standards per se, you might discuss in that context also the specific issue.
Yeah. But maybe I transfer this request to Dirk and ask Dirk. I think this should be discussed about standards. Maybe you can take over this with your contacts in the European Union, because I think this is essential. And I think there are other countries as well. Let's say has this impact of the truck drivers. especially when I heard the colleagues from Turkey and the truck drivers from Turkey that come to Germany, they are not able to go back to Turkey for the weekend from Friday evening to Sunday evening. It's not possible.
Okay,
Let's
Michael.
take this discussion outside. Let's take this discussion outside and focus on the technical.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
But I follow you, and we'll take that discussion for sure.
Okay.
We do that. We do that, Michael. We have a communication, but it's nothing doing with CEF. It's another issue to talk about. So that is on the agenda. No problem.
Okay. Good.
Okay, then if it's okay, we're gonna get back. There's a little bit in the chat. In case anyone didn't read, I just wanted to refer to one of the questions that was asked. Julian Volati from CEF, so your colleague Thomas, has replied, and I just want to read that out for everyone. He was replying to Friedrich's question about the catalytic effect. So he said, in addition to what Thomas has already said, under CEF 2, the definition of the funding rate is not directly related to the funding gap calculated in the CVA as in the past. Applicants are allowed to request the maximum funding rate specified in the call text. The catalytic effect is primarily an award criterion, and as such, its main purpose is to define a score for the selection of projects. In a number of cases, it could be used to justify lower funding rates, but this should not be considered as the rule. There is an FAQ that's being prepared on the issue, and the reply will be along those lines. So just so that we're clear about that. And there's a question from Ton Barton. He says, how about funding clean fuel supply to trucks as part of the new truck parking?
I pass the question to Ines, who is best positioned than I to answer whether clean fueling is at the moment part of the standards or not.
No, it's not. What will be part of the standards, but it will be only in really many years. It will be just a plug for refrigerated truck, but any other things such as clean fuels are not in there. So just so you are aware of that. So I guess if we follow online Thomas, then it cannot be funded under this CEF call,
No,
right?
it will not be funded, no.
Hold on, but just one information on that. There is another call for
alternative fuels
possibilities, alternative fuels. So it's another call, as I understood it. Is that correct?
Yes, there's another call which has been opened for the alternative fuels infrastructure facility, and there will be an info day for that on October the 14th, so next Thursday in the afternoon. If there is an interest on that, I invite you to, it will be a virtual info day, so you can follow it from home. I invite you to go to our website and to register for that info session, and then there you may see whether there is something of interest for you. In any case, bear in mind, if you want to build a safe and secure parking area with alternative fuels facility, as the structure is now, you would have to submit 2 different applications, one for the safe and secure parking aspect, one for the alternative fuels part.
And they are not mutually exclusive, right?
Nope.
They can be supplied and they can be funded, both of them together.
Yeah, we would not fund the same costs twice. One would be the cost of the safe and secure parking aspect. The other would be the cost of the alternative fuels part. But yes, you can receive funding under both as long as you meet the criteria of both calls.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe ESPOR can invite to this information webinar, because I think for every investor it's interesting to do a fuel site with alternative energies and parallel secure and safe parkings.
I will post the link in this.
On the websites I have linked in my presentations, you should also be able to find that.
Okay, good.
And if there are any follow-up questions, we'll make sure that all of these links are communicated to all participants afterwards. Okay, I see that Tamara Corsano has a question. So if you want to unmute your mic, you can ask your question.
Yes. Okay, this is a very practical question regarding the eligible costs, and in particular, so I understand that, of course, it is not only eligible the construction of a new safe and secure parking, but of course also the upgrading of the existing safe and secure parking. So in that case, will be also for among all the upgrading works that should be done, but is also the asphalt remaking of the areas eligible? Thank you.
It could potentially be eligible. I'm not sure now what extent this would be relevant to the purpose of what you are trying to do, namely making a safe and secure parking. It would be more, say, general maintenance of an existing.
Yeah, maybe I can help a little bit from the practice. I did this already, some renovation in Germany, existing sites which were extended with secure and safe parking. Means you have to pick up the asphalt, the existing asphalt, to bring in all the electronic connections to the entrance port and to lights and to cameras.
In that sense, yes, it would be eligible. However, it needs to be clearly explained in your application that you have to remove asphalt and dig here and there to put the lines, the cables, whatever, to comply with safety and security standards, as to make clear as this is not ordinary maintenance. You're not fixing just a pothole you have on your parking lot, but you are digging and removing because you have to put cables, whatever, to comply with safety standards.
Yes, of course, there will not be just a general maintenance, but it will be like indirect work that we should do because of other works on the areas. But anyway, so if this will be the case, we will justify that as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question in the chat from Maria Lacaria. What is the deadline for submitting the final report and the financial statement? Is it 12 months from the end project date, like the CEF?
Yeah, normally it's very early to start worrying about this, now that we haven't even selected the proposal. But yeah, normally the maximum end date for submitting final report is 12 months after the end of the action. So, but if we're actually selected for funding and sign a grant agreement with us, you will hear it several times before you actually get there to submit the final report.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad our participants are very forward thinking. Does anyone else have any more questions before we wrap up? No? Okay, then I'm going to give the floor to Dirk, and he can give us some conclusions from what we've heard today. And I just want to say thank you again to all of our participants and speakers.
Hi again, everybody. I want to thank you for the informative presentations and all the questions. What we can take away that we see that the needs on safe and secure trip parkings are very high. As you have heard, the Commission wants to develop and support safe and secure trip parking areas. The European standard for service are going to be in legislation. It will be approximately mid of December. In the CEF call, we have 5 billion for this year and also the next 2 years. They're supporting in that call development of new and upgrade safe and secure trip parking areas. When they be supported, they have to be certified to the EU parking standard. And what is important also, the submission is coming soon up, 19th of January. We think it's 4 months, but it's not long to write an application. So if you have questions to apply, you need to get started as soon as possible. Lots of components have to be into the application. If you need help, please contact Esporg, and we're going to help you over all the line. And also what you don't forget is you need the support of the member state. If you need also their support, please contacting us. We're going to try to help you over all the line. That's everything what I have to say. and Christy is going to send out the video. And if there are questions, you can mail to Christy, and we're going to come back if we have answers to you, and we put it directly to DG Move and to CINEA to answer those questions. And I'm happy that you attending this meeting, and I hope in 22 that we can do a physical one. That's it from my side. Thank you very much, also for the speakers and for all the information that we have. Thank you.
Okay, and just to add to what Dirk said, please contact me or anyone from Esborg if you need anything. If you need information, any of the links that were shared today, any of the presentations, please, please, please contact us. That's what we're here for. And yeah, we look forward to the journey with you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, I think you can stop recording if you want.
Yes, now we have to